What I'm about to share with you may not be easy to hear, but it is the truth, and based on facts when it comes to investing in real estate, especially when it comes to land. There are obvious warning signs when buying real estate, obvious to some, but not so obvious for others. So today, I'm going to share with you what you can do and what you should not do when selecting, buying, and closing on a piece of land. The information that I'm going to share with you will save you a ton of headaches, stress, and most importantly, prevent you from making huge mistakes that you'll want to make note of. So if you haven't already, go ahead and please subscribe to my channel. My name is Ernest Peralta. For nearly 5 years, I've purchased, sold, and developed properties. The reason that I share this to you is that I want you to take away my real-world experiences, and these are not just theory that I'm mentioning here. So buying land can be emotional. It becomes personal. That's why the number one thing that you should never do is get emotionally attached to a property before you even own it. You see, emotional attachment clouds your judgment, and that's when mistakes happen. You can avoid these mistakes by creating a clear plan, write things down, and follow a process. These videos are here to help you for free, so don't make the same mistakes I've seen others make, especially myself. So when you have a system and a checklist in place, you'll know what to do and what to look for. The smallest oversight can cost you thousands of dollars, so don't let that happen. Let's say that you're planning to build your dream home, subdivide the land, or place a modular home on it. No matter your goal, you need to be sure to actually see what it is allowed to do on that property. This is where restrictive covenants and deed restrictions come into place. You might think, well, I own the land, I can do whatever I want. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. If the deed says that you can't put a double wide or a single wide modular home, then technically you can't. You may still try to do it, but you run the risk of somebody filing a complaint or a court order to stop you from making any type of improvements. This actually happens more than you think. Luckily, all of this is public record. You can pull this information from the Register of Deeds office in your city or county. Always research the property before making a purchase. Now, can you still make an offer? Absolutely. But include these restrictions in your covenants as contingencies. These are conditions that protect you if you discover any red flags during the due diligence process. So here are a few contingencies that you should always include. Review the approval of deed restrictions, confirmation of zoning and flood zones, verification of no back taxes, liens, or encumbrances. You want to make sure that there is a clear title requirement. For example, let's say that you want to buy land and put a custom-built home on it, for instance, an ADU. This is a great goal, but always think about the resale because of the life of the property itself. You may end up moving one day. If you put a modular home on an ADU or an ADU on the property, you may have trouble selling it later on. Most banks won't finance a single wide unit. A buyer can't get a traditional mortgage, which limits your pool of potential buyers. However, if you place a modular home on a permanent foundation, you can qualify for an FHA loan or a traditional financing. Even you, as the seller, can benefit from flexibility when it's time to sell. So if you're set on using a single wide unit, one workaround is to live in it temporarily while you're building your home. Some people even live in an RV while building their dream house. You just need to check the deed restrictions to ensure that this is allowable. Another huge step, make sure that the land perks. A percolation test confirms that the soil absorbs wastewater for the septic system, but don't stop there. You want to make sure that it perks for your intended house that you want to build. If you want to build a 4-bedroom home, the land must perk for 4 bedrooms. If it perks for 3, you'll need to revise your plans or pay for an upgraded septic system. Without this, the city may not issue you a building permit. So again, write down everything, take notes. This information will save you thousands of dollars. Also, you want to use the right contracts. See, brokerages use state-approved contracts that may include many of these protections. But if you buy land using a free online template or one-page contract, it may lack critical contingencies to protect you. And that's why I keep saying have a checklist. Write things down. Don't assume that everything is going to be fine. When you're looking for land, you can use Zillow, Realtor.com, or work with an agent. But you want to beware of listings that just seem too good to be true. Sometimes properties are priced really low because the seller is highly motivated due to a divorce, death in the family, or other emotional reasons. The most important question that you want to ask the seller is, why are you selling? Their answers will give you the insight to their motivation and negotiation flexibility. And remember, don't be afraid to make an offer. The answer is always no, unless you ask. Also, get a title policy. A deed shows ownership. A title tells you what you can and can't do with the property and whether any legal claims or encumbrances exist. A title policy is a one-time premium paid at closing. It protects you from issues like back taxes, liens, ownership disputes, encroachments. Even if you're paying cash, never skip a title policy. Here's a tip when viewing land. You want to follow the trees. If you see a lot of cedar or birch trees, there's likely a lot of rock in the soil. That makes it harder to dig a well or pass a percolation test. Also, pay attention to flood zones. A, B, C, and X are all the main categories. Zone A equals 100-year floodplain. If a house is raised too high off of the ground, it's probably in a flood zone, and flood insurance can be quite expensive. Sometimes homes are built on slabs in flood zones. This is a major red flag. Look at the days on market. A property that's been listed for a long time may indicate a very motivated seller. Also, if your offer gets rejected, keep your eye on the property. Sellers often decline early on, then end up selling for less months later. Your first offer is usually the best one that they'll get. Finally, always make written offers, never verbal. A written offer with a pre-approval or a proof of funds shows to the seller that you're very serious. Buyers today have more tools than ever. Use them, be smart, and do your homework. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what topics that you'd like to hear about next, and I'll keep putting out content to help you make smarter real estate decisions.